committee. And I've been on the committee for, this is my 3rd year. So let's go to Liz.
Hi, I'm under Brian Hamilton because I was having technical difficulties with my computer. My name is Elizabeth Hamilton. I was speaking to Norm Janes, who was my neighbor, about recycling, and I'm just, thrilled to be invited to the meeting.
Let's go to Bill.
Yes, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Hey, appreciate being invited to your Zoom meeting. Yeah, my name is Bill Lehmann. I am the business development manager on the recycling side for waste management. So Miriam and I, and she'll introduce herself in a second, we're part of what we call the GMA, the Greater Mid-Atlantic area. So my area entails, Eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and New York City. And I'm pretty much tasked with building volumes, recycling tons into our recycling facilities within that geography.
Okay, thank you. Stephen?
Steve Lockhart, Upper Darby Trails, Upper Darby Rain Garden.
Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Bryant. I live in the Garrettford section of Drexel Hill, Upper Darby.
Miriam?
Hi, my name is Miriam. I am the Philadelphia Transfer Station manager. I'm actually the site manager. I've been at the Philadelphia Transfer Station for the past 2 years now, and have been with the company for the past 9 years.
Norm?
Yes. Hi, I'm Norm Janes. I'm a neighbor of Liz Ann Hamilton, and glad she's here with us tonight.
And a member of the advisory committee.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm a member of the advisory committee. Big part. Yes.
Okay, Peggy?
Peggy Kowalski. I live in the Beverly Hills section of Upper Darby, and I will be trying to record everything that everybody's saying tonight.
Peggy is also a member of the EAC. Jeff?
Yes, my name is Jeff Million from Drexel Plaza, a member of the EAC.
Okay. Melody?
I'm Melody Areza, and I don't know what section of Upper Darby I live in, but I'm behind the post office. Is that Bywood or I don't know.
Kristen?
Hi, I'm Kristen Cooper. I'm a member of the EAC. I live in Westbrook Park, Clifton Heights.
Maimona?
Hi everyone, I'm Maimona Talgder and I'm a student of Upper Darby High School and I live near Beverly Hills Middle School and I'm also a member of ESC.
Thank you. And Fatia?
Hi, my name is Fatia Azmi and I'm a junior in Upper Darby High School.
And last but not least, Mayor Keffer.
Hi everybody, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor here. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank
Good turnout. Yeah. And thank you the representatives, Miriam and Bill from Waste Management for being on this, I always call them calls, being on this call, so. Thanks.
Well, thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. We've got an agenda and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna, I was gonna give you the link, but I think I'm just gonna paste it in the chat now that everybody is there. And it just might be easier for everyone rather than going to some link to look at it. Okay, the first order of business is to approve the minutes from our last meeting. And I had sent that information out earlier and asked for any changes before we could approve. And I did not hear from anyone. So I'm going to say, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the 11/9/2020 meeting of the EAC?
I'll move.
Okay, Jeff, and a second?
I'll second.
Norm, all in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting, please say aye.
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 Any noes, say now. Okay, then our meeting minutes are approved from the last meeting. We'd like to ask the mayor to update us first about everything that's going on in the township around environment and sustainability. And so we'll have her speak first.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. We have a lot of great things going on. The first kind of news item is that the township has been awarded a $340,000 grant, a leaf vacuum truck. So that was a grant that we applied for, 8 or 9 months ago, and we did receive it. So that's great. This year, for the first time, we will be doing weekly yard waste collections, starting the first week in April and going to the end of November. And this is where I really could use the EAC's help in getting the word out. The yard waste recycling will take place on the same day as the regular recycling does. We do use a local handler that accepts the yard waste. Previously, we've only, as a township, done yard waste collections twice a year. And we're just trying to, kind of take as much out of the trash stream as we can. That's usable. The handler does turn it into mulch, which he sells. It's not for free to residents or anything like that. But it could really help us lower our sanitation costs if more people recycle more often. So we don't just garden and clean up our yards or whatever, rake our leaves twice a year. So I think this will be a really good thing, and that will be on the calendar, which will be sent out to residents by the end of the month. So it's not a big secret.
Mayor, is just, if I can ask a question about that, is there some list of what's considered yard waste and what's not?
It'll be on the calendar, but it's basically the same, branches, weeds. I'm sorry, it's going to be in a newsletter that's going out. It's the basic yard waste that we already collect on those 2 days. There's certain, it should be placed loosely in a trash can or in one of those kind of heavy duty yard waste bags that you can pick up at a local hardware store. So there's that. We are still in negotiations with St. Eugene's Parish to purchase about 6 acres of their land. But in the last couple of months, they changed the boundaries a little bit. So we're still waiting for the appraisal of the new property lines before we go ahead. But we do have funding to do that, and it could be a real great addition to our open space and our parks. This year, we are planning to bring the goats back to Gillespie Park to finish kind of what they started with clearing out invasives. I think it was kind of almost one of the highlights of 2020 because a lot of people went to Gillespie Park for the first time. They didn't even know it was there, and the goats did a really thorough job of clearing the invasives. What else do I have here? A couple weeks ago, my daughter and we did plant about 100 bulbs at Gillespie Park, daffodils, and then also upstream and across Darby Creek where that old historic house is. We rented out. It's officially on Bloomfield Road. So hopefully if the ground gets cold enough and they go dormant, it should look pretty nice in the spring. We are tentatively qualified to be considered a Soul Smart community, and we're setting up a meeting with them. Hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of weeks. But even before we applied for that designation, and Soul Smart is a group that works with the the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission. We've already budgeted in our capital improvement budget for, as we replace the roof on the township building, which is much needed, and also the one at the Watkins Senior Center. We're going to have solar panels installed. So we're hoping that being part of this group will help us with additional grants or some funding to get those two projects done. So, and I just want to talk real quickly about how the EAC can help myself and the administration get a lot of this stuff done. And a big piece of it is community outreach. And I'm hoping that that like the Facebook page that the group has, I'm not sure who all the admins are on it, but we're trying to educate people, for example, with recycling, not to put their recycling in plastic bags, because we have a pretty good percentage of our recycling on a regular basis. About 25% is charged to us as contaminated recycling. And this is something that we, as individual residents can help contain the cost of. The plastic bags kind of jam up the sorting equipment, and I'm sure that our representatives from waste management can go into that a little bit in more detail. But just this kind of communication needs to be constant, because you never know who you're catching at any one time. I've mentioned it in Delco alerts and in the mayor's address at council meetings, and it's been on our website, but it's not enough. And it'll be in the newsletter as well, but it's just a process. And, new people are moving into the township all the time, and it's just good to kind of remind people of, what should go into the recycling bin and what shouldn't. And yeah, I'm looking through my notes. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's it. So thanks.
Thank you. That's a lot of good news for Upper Darby Township. And I think we can respond that we around getting the word out. We think that we're going to need to take our page down and put up a new page because it was put up by other people in the past, and it's hard to administrate around the various things that somebody else has done. So Amanda and I are both on the admin now to do that page. But we'd like to revamp it, and it's possible that we need to take it down and put it back up again. So, but we'll let you know more about that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, that's terrific. So, so one of the things that we wanted to start off with is our recycling subcommittees. We've formed subcommittees around various issues that we thought were important in the township. Kristen is the facilitator of the recycling committee, and she's going to give us an update. And then during that time, the representatives from Waste Management will also share information with us. Kristen?
All right, thank you, everybody. Well, Happy New Year. I'm personally excited to hear about all the improvements at Gillespie Fields, so close to within walking distance of me. So hooray, Mayor Kepper, on that one. Thank you. So there's a lot of hands in the mix with this one, so I don't want to take too much of the time. I know that I have been emailing our subcommittee members, which are Norm and Peggy, and we've been working with the mayor's office, and then tonight we have Miriam and Bill joining us from Waste Management, so that's wonderful. Barbara Ann, you had emailed me about last week and had answered some of the questions from the subcommittee wrap up, and that was very helpful to us. Going by some of the things that you had mentioned tonight, I think and I also did have a conversation with Joe Martin. I think one of the biggest obstacles for us as a committee is, again, education. And I think one of the things that we are attempting to understand is, I guess, the whole process of where waste management comes into this. I know there's bags in the recycling that are contaminating it, but we also understand that it's more than just the bags, that it's other items as well. Joe Martin kind of alluded to the fact that some of the sanitation workers also needed to be educated on what can be, thrown into the truck when they're actually, picking up those cans. He said he, admitted that they just kind of grabbed them and dumped them, whether there's bags in there or not. And I've watched as well. So I think there needs to be some education starting from the very beginning of the dumping of the cans. We had talked about some ideas about notifying the township residents that, quite possibly your recycling won't get picked up if there's obvious contaminants in there. And, what would be the ramifications of that? Because I think what's happening is, as much as we do make attempts to educate the township residents, I see even my neighbor every week has pizza boxes in his recycling. And I think there still is some confusion as to what exactly is recyclable, what is profit recycling, and what is loss recycling. And so that's, we're hoping to maybe get a little bit more information from Waste Management on that. I think a big question I asked Joe was, are these contaminants and is this process audited? Do we know like exactly how much is contaminated and is not? You said 25% is contaminated. Has that ever really been looked at more closely from Waste Management perspective? Is there somebody there that's really giving Upper Darby a clear rundown? I know glass is a big issue, that glass is not recycled anymore. So my question is, why are we encouraging residents to even put glass in the recycling containers? I think a big step would be to have them know exactly what they can no longer put in there. Would be a good starting point. We suggested printing it on the cans itself. I know that's an expensive process. We talked about stickers to go onto the cans themselves, something printed in the calendar. And I just don't feel like yet the Upper Darby website is really conclusive enough. It does link you to Waste Management, but I think visually speaking, I don't think it has quite the impact that I would like to see for residents going on there. I think that can be more clearly illustrated to residents just by one click. You can kind of see what's recyclable and what's not, guidelines for recycling. So those are some of the big ideas. But we did have some questions that were answered. I did forward some of that to the subcommittee members as well. I don't know about taking up too much time going line for line through some of these questions, but I did want to hear from our two guests tonight in terms of what they see moving forward as maybe some things that the township can start to do in terms of education, and what can we do to educate even our own sanitation workers. And Barbara Ann, is there a way that we can just stop picking up contaminated recyclables? I know personally for me, if my trash can is not in a certain space, they will drive right by my house. And I feel like, it's kind of on me to make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. And in the same regard, I feel like as a resident, if there's clearly contaminated, things inside, I've seen styrofoam get tossed into the back of the truck. I've seen everything just get tossed in, and I'm not quite sure I understand why that continues to keep happening. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
Is that a question for the mayor? Kristen, were you asking her?
Yeah, I mean, it is a question, and I think, from a subcommittee standpoint, I'm not sure how that process gets started. Is it something that we need to sit down with the sanitation workers? I didn't get much feedback from Joe on that. He seemed like he had a lot of unanswered questions himself, so I'm not sure how much he's aware of either. I didn't get a whole lot of answers from Joe as well to some of the questions that I had. He didn't seem to have much contact with Waste Management. So I don't really have as many answers as I would like.
The administration is working with the sanitation department to have them enforce and to do more enforcement. But it is a slow process. They're used to doing things a certain way, and they've been doing them that way for quite a number of years.
Right.
I think it should be apparent in the next couple weeks. When they don't pick up something, it should be tagged with a check off and an explanation of why they're not taking it. This is new for them too.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're like I said, they're used to doing things their way. So it's just, this is the beginning of like a really concerted effort to do things the right way.
You also mentioned that there were glass recycling containers at Nailers Run that are no longer there. And I was wondering if that was something that could be reinstituted just to alleviate some of, the glass that's going into the recycling containers.
So what was happening at Nailers Run? It looks like some bar owners, there was a lot of dumping there. And we're almost at the point where we can install a camera and monitor it. But I guess either there's dumping, like people would leave like cases, like a cardboard case of beer with the empties in there. I mean, stacks and stacks of them. Those igloos are owned by the county Solid Waste Authority. And I think at a certain point this past year, that without warning, I have to say, they just took them away. They're not there anymore. You used to be able to see them when you drive by Nailers Run. They're gone. I think when we do actually purchase the cameras and we have a system in place so that dump sites are monitored, we can request that they be returned. But until then, I wouldn't feel too confident about that.
That makes sense. I understand.
So,
so waste management, Miriam and Bill, what do you see moving forward as some of the biggest contaminants and things that we can start to really educate the township residents on not putting in there or being aware of?
Yeah. So Kristen, I think you already said a lot of it, and the mayor as well. I could give you sort of a broad brush type of summary about some of the things, Kristen, that you just covered, and then Miriam can give you an in-depth sort of analysis of how we take material in, how we downgrade material. There's a very strict protocol that we follow. We take photos of the material. We do send it to our customers. It's all about sharing that information, right? So that we can correct it together. And Miriam could cover that in a couple of minutes. But I think you said it, and I heard it a few times. The number one contaminant that we see out there is material that's in plastic bags. You could have aluminum cans in plastic bags, and to us, unfortunately, and aluminum's $1,500 a ton, that becomes trash, because as it comes over our line, we're running 30 tons an hour over a processing line, and our folks in the pre-sort area, simply, we don't have the time to stop the line, open the bag, and dump it out, unfortunately. Just the nature of our industry. So anything that comes in a plastic bag is usually going to be picked up and dropped into a bunker with the rest of the trash items. The other part of that problem is, and you folks have probably heard it already, is that plastic tends to wrap around all of our, recycling equipment. We use a lot of gravity, right? So there's certain star screens where larger material goes over the top, smaller material falls through, and then we go to a smaller screen and we size everything up. But what happens is the plastic itself gets wrapped around those screens. So essentially, if you got rid of your plastic bags, and this isn't a unique problem to Upper Darby, this is common to our industry, but it's gotten better, through education and outreach. But getting rid of the plastic bags is probably 90% of the contamination. After that, it's like anything that's tangleable, This time of year, you might see a lot of Christmas lights coming through because they don't work anymore. And folks say, hey, well, this is recyclable. We'll see a lot of those items. And probably organic or food waste. We see a lot of, but really it's the plastic bags. You clean the plastic bags, we'd be in a lot better shape. You also mentioned glass, and yeah, glass, it is in like I said, our market areas, New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania. It is a part of the county plan and the municipal plan. So it is a recyclable material. Problem is, it's a negative value. We're looking at it with the city of Philadelphia because they've asked the same question. Can we add more value if we took the glass out of the stream? And the problem is, yeah, ultimately you could, but how do you get from putting 100% glass in and re-educating everybody so now you have 100% no glass? It's like the law of diminishing returns, right? It's going to take several years to get folks on board. So in that period of time, it's actually more costly to start removing the glass until you get to a zero glass. So something to maybe look at, and maybe the city of Philadelphia would be, the good example. But we'll see, because we're just not there yet. You always hear about pizza boxes. Some paper mills will say, yeah, we could take them. Yeah, we understand there might be a little grease or some mozzarella in there. And other mills are saying, well, we can't take any of that at all. So there's a lot of confusion out there, right? What are they recyclable or are they not, right? This is sort of the issues that the industry and our customers are facing, because there's so much information. And unfortunately, there's a lot of different information. There's no real standards. We're getting a lot closer to that from where we were just a couple of years ago, but there are no real standards that if you go to Upper Darby or you go to Paterson, New Jersey, which is where I'm office out of, things could be different, right? One other thing that might be helpful, Kristen, and you mentioned that you're linked up with waste management. I'm not sure if that's part of the Recycle Often, Recycle Right platform that we use, but I think that's that particular platform. It's actually www.recycleoften.recycleright.com. And that is a really useful website. I mean, there's plenty of documents on there. There's teaching aids. There's printable items. There's labeling. There's signage that we encourage our customers, municipalities, and others to use to sort of help educate, your residents to try to clean up the stream.
You give me that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you give me that website again? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's www.RORR, as in recycle often, recycle right.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I said a mouthful there, and I'm kind of all over the place, but I want to kind of touch on a lot of things that were brought up there. And Miriam and I it doesn't have to end with this call, right? I mean, we're available. You have any questions at all, we're always there to help. And Miriam can give you an idea of how we downgrade material. We take audits on material frequently to help us understand what we're getting, because we want to be fair with our customers. We just don't want to arbitrarily, decide that it's 20%. We have an actual process for that was developed from our corporate folks and sort of tried and tested through the ranks to where we feel now that we have, a good program. But part of that program is taking photos of the load that came in and then sharing it with our customer. And Miriam and I just discovered, I think recently, that those photos that are intended for you folks are going as far as one of our sales managers, and I don't know that it's being shared with you, or maybe hasn't been in the past, but that's something that we could change very easily. So Miriam, apologies, I'm kind of stepping on maybe what you were going to present there, but maybe you could give them a little more detail on that.
I think Bill kind of summed it up, so I guess my job is done here. So some of the stuff that Bill already kind of gave information on is really accurate based on what it is that we do with our downgrades. But before I go into that, I just wanted to let you guys know, thank you so much for all the diligent work that you guys are doing as far as being able to recycle. Some of the material we get at the Philadelphia transfer station from Upper Darby is some of the most cleanest material that we actually see. So we really, truly appreciate it. So don't downplay all the work that you're doing. It's actually really good, phenomenal work that you guys are doing. We really do get really good material from you. So we thank you for that. As far as our process for our downgrade, as the material comes in onto the floor, we do have a downgrader, a person that is actually out there. We actually have several people that are out there with cameras upon the truck coming up onto our tipping floor. As the material is coming out of the truck, we start taking pictures, looking at the material, and actually doing a downgrade based on the debris that we see in the material. Moisture at times becomes a factor when, of course, during downpours of rain and everything. So there's a downgrade for that. Typical downgrade amounts that we tend to see for Upper Darby is usually anywhere between 10% to no more than 25%. And trust me, we've seen much higher grades of downgrades in other areas, but as far as Upper Darby, we tend to see it more so, it doesn't go anywhere higher than maybe about 15, 20% the most, to be honest with you. And at that point, once the pictures are taken, we then review the pictures. There is information provided with the pictures. We don't downgrade based on just specific material. We look at, like Bill was saying, the bags that's within the material, especially, sometimes we have a lot of good material like the aluminum that comes in, but yet it's in a bag and then it becomes trash at that point. So and I think part of the biggest challenge is educating those customers to ensure that they're not putting those materials within the bags and that they can, just have it loose, just let it go. That really would be helpful. I think some of the things that you guys are already doing as far as, educating, I think Kristen, I'm sorry. You said a great deal of information as far as being able to provide stickers on the cans so that people have the good visual. I think those are great ideas. You guys are actually coming up with all the ideas. I don't have anything to say on that piece of it, actually. But anything outside of that, that's basically it. And then of course, the information is then sent out to our sales manager. And at that point, we really, on our end, we don't have a contact or a good contact for Upper Darby to be able to send that information to. So one of the things I would like to see is some information as to who we can send that information to. And that's all I have.
That's very encouraging news. I'm glad to hear that, we do a good job, and we just need to improve on some of the things. And I think, Barbara Ann, you nailed it. I think we just need to keep driving home these ideas and be consistent with, how they're maybe sent out to the township. I do like when you use the Delco alerts. Personally, as a resident of Upper Darby, I like, when you call in, you hear your voice. Would it be possible, to use that platform? And be a little bit more specific about recycling. I know last time you did talk about, I think, taking the caps off the water bottles. I heard you say that last time. Would it be possible to, since these plastic bags seem to be one of the real issues and one of the top contaminants, to remind, residents to take their recyclables out of plastic bags and maybe, do it every time you do a Delco alert kind of thing, just as a suggestion.
Sure. And I was going to say, Miriam, I'll be in touch with you to let you know who from our sanitation department you can work with regarding the downgrades and the photos and stuff like that. So,
can I ask a couple of questions? Miriam, let me start with you because this may be a quick one. Is it possible for us to send some folks to your, wherever you do this sorting, to watch the process so we can understand it better?
Definitely. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Wednesdays are usually when we get the most material from Upper Darby. So on any given Wednesday would be ideal.
And where is that facility?
It is at 3605 Grace Ferry Avenue in Philadelphia.
Okay, I think I know where it is. Okay, next question, a couple of questions that may be for you, Mayor, or perhaps Bill, you might know the answer to. And that is that it's my understanding that Upper Darby has a recycling plan, which is required to be filed with whoever, and somebody approves that. And I don't know who has to approve that. I don't know how often they have to be updated or looked at, or how often it's possible to change them. But that would be one set of questions. The other set of questions is it possible, if that plan could be changed, do we have to have a plan that calls for recycling of everything? And glass keeps coming up. Could we have a plan that does not include glass? I don't want to get into the weeds on this now, but it seems to me that it would be helpful for us to understand what's in the plan, who gets to approve it, and how it could be changed if we wanted to recommend some change.
You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, I am. So Norm, I'm going to have to get back to you on that regarding a plan, regarding what our recycling plan is.
Okay.
And
I mean, basically, is there some flexibility? If we thought that we came up with a scheme, is there some way that we can get that plan changed that would make a major change? That's the question.
I'm glad you brought that up, Norm. And that was one of the things we discussed in the subcommittee. If the profitable items are aluminum and corrugated cardboard, would it be possible to just, make it, those are the two items that we recycle, and not even to confuse the issue with anything else, and just drive those two recyclables home and forget about the glass altogether. Miriam, does the glass get hand picked out and then get put, does that get thrown into regular trash? Like, what happens when the glass is in with everything else? How is it actually just physically removed and put somewhere else?
Any of the glass that comes into the material actually stays with the material, only because there's really no way for us to really sift it out of the material. And then if we have like a great deal of glass that comes in and within a load, we then end up having to trash that whole load if it's just too much for us to actually absorb. But again, the glass really typically hasn't been too much of a challenge.
And perhaps we should be, if we weren't clear, Miriam runs a transfer facility for trash and recycling. So ultimately the material gets picked up and, comes off of collection trucks, gets picked up by a loader, loaded onto walking floor trailers, and then gets transloaded up to our MRF, our Philadelphia MRF, which is north of where Miriam is, and then processed. So I think, Kristen, the glass ultimately does get removed through our processing equipment and separated from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what happens to, I'm sorry, what happens then? Presumably then plastic bottles get separated from glass bottles, from cardboard, from newspaper. Am I correct that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you sell those bundles to somebody else, right?
That's right, Norm. So you had actually, you kind of hit the nail on the head, and yeah, we'd like you to come down at some point and spend some time and watch a couple of loads get dumped to get the good visual, right? I'd like to be there for that as well when we could get that scheduled. But as part of that trip, maybe from there we head up, we head north and go to if you haven't been to the MRF, we can certainly give you folks a tour and see all the bells and whistles. It's like I said before, a lot of it is gravity, but there's optical sorters. There's eddy currents that remove aluminum. There's magnets that remove tin. And then, sure, there's a whole bunch of labor up there, and folks, manually separating equipment as it comes across the line.
what does MRF stand for, Bill?
That's my bad.
That's all right.
That comes up a lot, but it's Materials Recovery Facility. But ultimately, Norm, like you said, everything does get separated. Most of it has a value. But again, that's where a lot of the confusion comes in, right? Plastics, 1 through 7s. You know, the real value there is the 1s and the 2s, the PET and the HDPE has tremendous value. And the number 5 is polypropylene, which is your margarine and your butter, you know, tubs and containers. All the other items, you know, the 3s, the 4s, the 6s, 7, 8, that's the real low end value. But folks, you know, sorting at their kitchen sink don't necessarily, we've come a long way, don't get me wrong, but it's still very confusing of what is, you know, what has the value and what's contaminated, you know, with food waste, et cetera, et cetera. So.
And I think, Bill, that would be extremely helpful for us to know, you know, what are the 5 top value items that we could, you know, educate residents you know, and let them be mindful. I know Upper Darby likes to enforce the when in doubt, throw it out idea. And I think that's useful as well. If we can really pinpoint what are some of the best recyclables and, you know, encourage residents to focus on those items and keeping those items clean and getting those bags out of there, I think that would be really, and educating the sanitation workers, I think that would be half the battle right there.
Can I just ask a question about the value? When you say high value items, is that a value to Upper Darby or how, you know, value? What's the value?
Yeah, Bonnie, we're going to treat everything as a stream, right? We call it a blended value. So yeah, certainly you have materials, as I mentioned, 1 and 2 plastic, aluminum, corrugated. Even mixed paper has a value now, but you also have negative value materials in glass and residue. That's where we really experience a lot of the disposal costs. So you have all the material and it changes, right? There's a commodity market and prices change each and every month as, you know, the commodities market changes. So there's an adjustment each month. And we could break it down for you. We not necessarily for Darby, but we could show you what a blended value, sort of a typical blended value looks like, give you all the values in the current market by percentages. And then what happens is there is a processing cost because we have to process it. So there's a cost to that and a disposal cost that has to get deducted. Problem is with the market and where we've gone is since, you know, the demise with, you know, China not taking materials, you know, currently, in fact, January 1st of this year was a complete and total ban on recycling coming into China. Now, we made up a lot for that with the other Southeast Asian countries, India, and even our own domestic mills. But at one point, that material, there was so much value to the material, even after the processing cost, there was still enough money, which we call our EBIT line, right, for the MRF to make money, and then also rebate our customers. But what's happened, as you folks know, and this is why part of why we're on a call here, right? Now there's a tremendous cost to this. The value of the materials is not enough to offset the disposal costs, so therefore there's a charge for it. But if you look, Bonnie, at each of those individual items, once we separate it, yeah, they will go to a market where we're selling it, you know, for revenue value.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that we're not making any money on this, that we're actually, it ends up that we pay a lot of money. And in some cases because of the way we recycle, but in other cases because of the market for the things that are out there to be purchased. And
correct.
So what's the basis of the cost to the town of your services? I mean, is it a fixed amount per year? Is it based on some combination of an analysis of both what we're sending and also what you're getting for it? Or, I mean, how do we pay you?
I'm pretty certain it's a fixed amount that has been in there for the last few years based on the original analysis of the material. So,
You know,
what that amount is?
Mayor?
I can tell you, it's $90 for recycling a ton. It's $150 for contaminated recycling.
Okay, and that's separate from whatever we're paying for our regular waste, right?
Regular trash is $58 a ton.
Okay.
And there within lies the problem, right? And
Exactly.
again, it's not unique to Upper Darby. Yeah, in many instances in our market area, the disposal cost for trash is less than recycling. Problem is, recycling is the law and it's the right thing to do, right?
Now, Bill, are any townships that you know of or any municipalities that you know of receiving a rebate? Or is anybody succeeding?
We are in most instances, I don't know of anybody receiving a rebate for single stream. There are municipalities throughout our market area that are receiving a rebate for dual stream recycling. So if you're just recycling fiber grades, typically, because there's so much corrugated out there with all the e-commerce that's going on. I mean, I know if you looked at Upper Darby on collection day, most of what you see there, especially after the holidays, is mostly all cardboard, which has good value. So the answer to that question is yes. There's a rebate in instances where townships are separating commingled your bottles and cans from your from your fiber. And in the instances where it's just bottles and cans, the charge for regular bottles and cans is less than what a charge would be for single stream because there's less processing involved.
Okay, so that's something to, to even investigate further. Would it be better to go back to a dual stream process? And when you talk about a rebate, can you just give me like a dollar figure per month of how much a township could get if it were successful?
Yeah, I mean, towns are getting rebated as much as $15, $20, $25 a ton for corrugated.
Of course, the other way of looking at this, correct me if my math is wrong, but it seems to me if we can keep a lot of non-recyclables, either waste or plastic bags, out of what goes to you guys, then instead of you charging us $150 a ton for that, we're paying $58 a ton to haul that off to the landfill or the incinerator, wherever it goes. Yeah,
That's
so
exactly.
we could save 4,800. I mean, well, I don't know what the math is, but pretty good chunk of money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
$100.
absolutely. That's correct.
We all remember when we went to single stream recycling, it was a blessing, hassle-free. But if we separate again, then we have to double up on the trash collection. It's going to incur costs that way.
No, right. Yeah, but if in fact you could wave a magic wand and do it correctly, you could save money by putting some of this in the waste. Yeah.
Right.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. There's no question that getting from here to there is the problem.
Wonderful.
It would be great to get like a target number of where we'd like to be in contaminated, less contamination, and figure out the costs that it would save if we actually were not putting all of that stuff in the recycling and then having it go in the trash. And it would be great to see if we could actually do a campaign where we could save that much money.
And I think what was really startling to me when I looked up the budget information was how much it almost doubled just since 2018. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just in like a 2-year period of time. There was such a huge jump in those 2 years that was very concerning overall. It didn't just go up incrementally, it just doubled and then doubled again. And that was very alarming.
Yeah. So folks, think about that too. When you look at what your disposal cost is now, and Mayor, I think you said it was $58 for material to go into the trash versus the $150 for the trash coming out of recycling. Why do you think, and I'm asking the question, right? Why do you think it's so much higher for the trash that goes into the recycling?
Probably because it needs to be processed and it's more involved.
So it has to be removed. So now you got a disposal cost plus a processing cost. And that's exactly why, you're looking at that kind of number.
That was great information. Thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch with the two of you and our other subcommittee members. Thank you so much for attending tonight on such short notice. I feel much more confident now in understanding the process than I did before. So thank you so much.
It was very helpful. Yeah.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Does anyone
Mayor,
else have any questions before we?
Yeah, before we get off recycling, I have one more question for the mayor. Well, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but we pay a fee for trash collection.
Right.
Does that cover the $58 a ton, or does it go to help pay for that? And does any of that trash fee go towards meeting the cost of the recycling process?
So generally the trash fee that we currently pay, the cost of the tipping fees for the trash and for the recycling, but it does not cover salaries, maintenance, vehicles, gas. So,
okay.
Yeah. So.
And those, when you do the budget, I mean, all those expenses for the sanitation department cover both time spent and energy spent on recycling and on trash pickup, correct?
Generally, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Just the tipping fees. Right? Just the tipping fees.
The trash fee that I pay covers the tipping fees.
For trash and recycling.
For trash and recycling. But all of the other costs related to the sanitation department is part of the regular township budget, and I pay for that with my taxes, my regular property tax. Okay. All right. Yep. Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Mayor Keffer, roughly how many residents do we have that actually pay taxes? I'm not talking about like how many people in each household, but like how many residents will pay that sanitation bill?
There's about 26,000 properties that pay for it.
Okay. Great, thank you. And I just add my thanks to Bill and Miriam for joining us tonight. And if you would like to leave, you're certainly welcome to leave. But if you'd like to stay, please, you can stay.
We do appreciate it. Thanks for having us. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, bye-bye.
Good night.
Great. That was extremely illuminating. And I think we have a lot of work to do given what we know now. So we can take that up at our next committee meeting and see where we want to go from there. The next committee is the Energy Use and Conservation. And Norm, would you like to give a little update on what we've talked about and what we've done up to this point?
I would, and I think we can spend less time on that tonight than we have on recycling, which is, although I think it was very, very helpful. I really do. So recycling, I mean, the energy, what are we calling ourselves?
Energy Use and Conservation.
Thank you. Energy use and conservation, right. We're not in a position to make any recommendations tonight for any action. We are still trying to learn lots of things, but let me tell you what we're trying to learn about. And we're trying to learn about two different things. How can we be helpful to Upper Darby as a municipality and what it's spending money on and how it's using energy, and also looking at how residents of the township and how they're using energy and saving energy. So two different tracks that we're looking at. With regard to the township, the town has, and Mayor, you may need to help me here. The town is involved, has a grant from the state to take a look at its impact on climate change. Is that a fair statement? And I've forgotten what the grant is called. I can't remember it. We've got some students who are going to do an assessment of the town's
Climate change plan.
climate change plan.
It's a climate change plan.
So that's ongoing, and we don't know too much about it yet. Would like to find out more about it. Hopefully we can meet with some of the people involved in that, because the end result of that is going to be an assessment of the townships, that is, as a consumer and user of energy, on the township's impact on the climate and the environment, and its resilience, I think, is part of the study as well. And so the question, when that gets done, or maybe as it's being done, what kind of role can the EAC have in trying to help that process, either again, the assessment or the making the plan, and or trying to educate the community about it. So when we learn more about that, and when that gets further along, there may be a role for us to play, but right now it's not clear. And the second possibility for the township, which may relate to the first, and that is the Sierra Club has a project which they call Ready for 100. That is helping municipalities transition from fossil-based fuel energy to sustainable renewable energy for all of its energy uses. They have a fairly, a very multifaceted, very well thought out, planned process for getting municipalities to essentially make that transition. And we've had one meeting with some folks from that. There's an active Southeast Pennsylvania group of municipalities that are looking, and that some municipalities have already signed on as sort of active participants in this process. Others are looking at it. And one of the things that I think that our subcommittee will do, and maybe ultimately look to the whole committee to recommend, is that Upper Darby join that process. Again, perhaps this other study will deal with some of those issues, and maybe a better way to plan how to make a transition away from a fossil fuel energy use. But so we'll have to wait and see. But that would be another possibility, and the EAC might have a role in certainly proposing that that plan, and perhaps in implementing it. But we don't know yet. Yeah.
I think the mayor has something to say.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a couple things I forgot to mention. Other things that we have budgeted for in the capital improvement plan is for electric charging stations. We're going to be redesigning and revamping our municipal parking lots. And we're also planning to, as we're replacing the fleet of, probably not the police vehicles, but the code enforcement, parking enforcement, and other township vehicles, we're looking to replace them with electric vehicles.
Right.
So,
and I think those are terrific. Those are terrific. And I think these other two things that I'm talking about are more comprehensive plans, and obviously multi-year, multi-budget kinds of considerations. But those things are all to the good. And, I think we're all applauding all you're doing, Mayor. So thank you.
We're trying to do it. So we are involved, as was mentioned earlier, with the local climate change plan. And that's we work with a college student intern, and that'll start up again, I guess, pretty soon when the next semester starts. But any information that you have about the Sierra Club, it sounds like a kind of a similar program. If you could forward that to me, that would be great.
Well, I'm wondering, actually, Mayor, if it's possible to have a longer conversation with you in the subcommittee or with the college students, so that we can find out how much of an overlap between the Ready for 100 and the Climate Action Plan is. I mean, they may be the same thing, they may be very different, but we don't really know. But it might be nice if you could put us in touch with your person sometime until we can learn from her. And I can certainly forward to him. I mean, the Sierra Club has a very impressive package of material about their Ready for 100 plan. I'll be glad to make sure that you get that.
Norm, I also
Yeah.
had a quick question. Bonnie, wasn't that climate action plan, wasn't that the meeting that I attended about 2 months ago? They just had a big summary. You had sent me the link, and I actually sat in as a representative of the EAC. That's what it was. It was the Ready for 100.
I actually don't remember which meeting that was, but the Climate Action Plan is actually a state program that only now 40 municipalities across the state of Pennsylvania have been selected to participate in. And I think that you attended maybe an EAC network meeting.
No, it was the Climate Action Plan. It was Montgomery County Consortium for the Climate Action Plan. It was hosted by Brandon Ford. And John Ledger from Springfield Township. And it was the Ready for 100. All the townships gave their action plans. I kind of think, Norm, that Delaware County is on the list. There was a representative there from Delaware County, Norm. So we may already, Delaware County may already have a foot in the door there.
Delaware County is not. Yeah, Delaware County's not signed on to the Ready for 100 yet. They have the Ready for 100 people have a resolution before them that they're considering, but they haven't signed on yet. And neither has Upper Darby Township. Haverford Township has signed on, as well as a number of the other
Lansdowne Borough too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so there is some work in progress there, Norm, on that as well already.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, before we can find out what our role is, we need to find out what these other two things are and how they might mesh. So the other thing, now the other sort of lens that the subcommittee is looking at is what can we do to help individual property owners and residents to transition to renewable energy and to do a better job of preserving what they're using and not waste it. So we have two things in mind, neither one of which are ready to really be started yet. But one would be to do some education about homeowner. Basically, I think they call it weatherization is the project. That is, how can you make your home less leaky so that it costs less to heat, costs less to cool, so that you're not wasting electricity with your appliances, all those kinds of things. Now, there's plenty of material out there, but can we figure out a ways that we can get Upper Darby residents to sort of take this on and think about it themselves? I've tried to reach out to the state program for low-income weatherization. The state has money to help low-income residents, even renters, to make their homes more energy efficient. And obviously they've got, educational materials. I've called a couple of times. I've gotten no response yet, so I don't know whether that's possible. We could probably do our own, but it would be nice to partner with somebody like that who's already doing it. So that would be one tack that we might want to take. The other is to sort of help and encourage people to move towards rooftop solar. There is an organization called Solarize Delco, which basically is a, the scheme is, I don't mean the scheme, that's a negative term. The plan would be for Solarize Delco. The group has a contract with a solar installer provider, and for every, I think it's every, or certainly for the more homes that they can get signed up to be part of that is to put rooftop solar put on their homes. Everybody who participates begins to get a little reduction in the cost of the installation on their house. So if you get 100 people, you get a little bit of a rebate. If you get 1,000 people in the county to do it, everybody gets a bigger break on the cost of the installation. They are trying to promote this in the whole county, so that would include Upper Darby. And they have some promotional materials, and they have information about how to do it, and they have information about how to assess your home, and they will come and do an initial assessment. I mean, there's lots of ways in which they can facilitate this. So one of the things that we might do as an EAC is to help them to publicize and reach folks in Upper Darby so that we can get more people to be able to put rooftop solar up. So those are 4 different possible things that we could be working on. But again, we're still at the stage where we're learning about those and are not in a position to recommend any to the EAC, much less to the township.
Maybe I can add also to that we did meet, as Norm said, with Steve Clark and Melissa Romano from the EAC in Havertown, and they gave us a lot of information about the things that they have done on their EAC, and we are actually in some ways ahead of them, and we're very happy about the fact that the mayor has been instituting a variety of things that other townships have not yet even begun to do. So we thank you for being on the cutting edge on that, Mayor Keffer. But one other thing I wanted to add to Norm's conversation is that the folks from Havertown have produced a number of webinars that they are happy to share. Well, they have shared the links with us around a variety of energy saving things that we probably as a committee will talk about the possibility of scheduling for at various points during the year for the township, so that we would have some webinars around energy savings and that sort of thing to present without having to do the work ourselves.
Yeah. Right.
So that's great. All right, anything else? Is there anybody else on the committee who has anything they wanted to add?
I just want to say real quick that as far as the weatherization program goes, it's run by the Community Action Agency of Delaware County, and we have a lot of people in Upper Darby that do partake in it. There's a waiting list. So
yeah, I was just hoping that we could get them to partner with us to do some education and outreach. And again, I'm sure they got materials, although, their focus is low income people, which is great. But there's lots of us who are not low income who could do a lot to weatherize our homes. And so one possible educational campaign would be to get information to those folks.
Yeah. One other thing that Norm just reminded me of is that many of the people who live in Upper Darby in rental properties don't have much control over whether or not they're having a big carbon footprint or not. And because they live in rental housing that somebody else has to upkeep and take care of. And we were wondering, once the ordinances are published for the township, we would like to be able to go through that and see if there are things that landlords can do. Go ahead, Mayor.
The ordinances are on the website. You go on the homepage, you can go onto, it's under residents, and on the right hand, there's 2 columns. On the right hand column, you'll see, I think it's called Township Code. You hit that, everything is, we worked with that. We just finished that project a couple months ago. So just put in whatever you're searching for and it'll find the ordinances.
Awesome. That's great.
So,
Fabulous. So
Great.
we'll
Great.
Definitely take a look at that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, right, that would be another project. Possible things we recommend either changing or addition or eliminating in the current ordinances.
Okay. Since this meeting was actually supposed to be over at 8 o'clock and we haven't heard from the Beautification Committee yet, I'd like to be able to give them a chance to talk about some of the things that we had talked about. And Amanda is now the facilitator for that, but I don't know if you're prepared tonight to talk about it. So I'll just very briefly say something about beautification. So we looked at it through 3 prongs. We want a cleaner township. We want a more beautiful, greener township. And we want a township that has a good curb appeal, so attractive township for other people to see. So we're looking at the kinds of things for each of those things, such as litter campaigns for the cleaner township, possibility of looking at more open space. The mayor talked about open space at St. Eugene's, and we're wondering how we can look at other open space areas and find ways for the township to purchase land so that we could have more open space in the township. I think we only have, I might be wrong, but around 2% of open space in our township. And so finding, maybe setting a target and trying to increase our open space to that target every year a little bit more would be one of the things that we might want to do. And then things like the curb appeal, like in stores that are closed and like vacant stores, instead of having windows that are just all messed up and not very attractive, we thought maybe we could be able to talk with the realtors to showcase some like art from school kids or something like that in the windows, and just find these little small ways to add some beauty where now there are some blighted stuff. So we're looking at it through those three lenses, and we'll be coming up with some actions that we'd like to do throughout the coming year. So briefly, that. And Amanda or Maimona, do you have anything else to say?
From what I remember, we discussed that is you hit all the highlights.
Okay. Maimona, anything?
I want to say something, but it's not related to Upper Derby Township, but I want to let as many people know, because the word needs to get out. It's that the Arctic oceans is like the animals there are dying, and they have been endangered now, and even the indigenous cultures are also dying, and there's this company that wants to buy that land and make like factories there, and it's like really in bad condition. So if you guys can you please go to www.protectthearctic.org when you have time, and just click take action. So what you do is you just sign up, and the email will forward it to the president, and it will just probably say that about to protect the land instead of selling it, because like those animals are dying and nobody is doing anything about it. So just even if you don't want to, just please get the word around, because people needs to know about this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maimona. That's very timely. Also, maybe Fatima or Maimona want to talk briefly about the teen advisory board and some of the things that you're taking to them around some of the issues that we have. Does anyone want to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. We've been working on the environmental report where we do research for this committee, and we've been doing pretty good. We're almost done. If you guys have any suggestions on what we could work on for the report, it would be like really helpful.
Okay, that's great. A couple of the things that we had talked about the possibility of the team doing is maybe doing a little audit of various streets and the township to see what it is that they are contaminating the recycling with, and then making some like a press release so that it gets out into the press, so that maybe more people will be able to pay attention to it. So they were thinking about doing something like that, which they would talk with the recycling group about. And finally, the education group. So we had a separate education group, and we had met and decided that it probably is better if each of our members goes into one of the other groups and works with that group on education rather than being separate, so that this way we can really focus on the particular things in education that group really wants to do. So we've broken up, and Jeff is going to go into the energy group, and Melody's going to go into the recycling group, and Amanda is going to be the facilitator of the beautification group and work on that. Just very quickly, there were some other things that were on the agenda that I just want to bring up very, very briefly. Maybe the mayor can help us on this. Shred days and electronic recycling, have they been scheduled for the township?
They will be. I'm not sure that that it's booked yet. We're hoping to have 2. You know, as we're they have been scheduled. And we are looking to, I'd love to do like anything with the plug recycling, but that's tough, you know, so it's not just, so I think we also have to rename it, not Shred Day so much as Personal Identification Protection Day, because last year, a lot of people were bringing the yellow books, you know what I mean? And this regular, like that should go out in regular recycling. And we kind of want to handle bank statements. We also had the computer, another company, CyberCrunch, I think it was, came in and, you know, worked on people's hard drives and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it would be good to think of it as Identity Protection Day.
Okay, Personal Identification Protection Day. That's great. And when that does get scheduled, if you would let us know, traditionally, if it's scheduled during a time when people can actually like be there and safely. In the past, the EAC has gone out and helped at those days where needed. So sometimes, you know, you can help dump the trash cans or take the stuff out of the trunk of somebody's car, throw it in the bins, or, you know, that sort of thing. So when the time comes closer, we'll see what it's like and whether or not there would be a call for volunteers or not.
There'll be one in the spring and one in the fall. And Bonnie, you were at you helped out at the one we had in October or September, I forget.
September, I think. Maybe not. I don't remember. All the time stumbled together now. But yeah, I did. Okay, so we'll do that. The other thing I wanted to make people aware of is that there's another project that's happening at the Gillespie Park. Well, not happening. Let me take it back. There's another project that we're hoping will happen at the Gillespie Park. We've submitted the Shade Tree Commission, the township, and Tree Tenders has submitted a grant to the PHS Tree Vitalize to repair the stream, the buffer there, do a riparian restoration there, in which we would plant like 160 trees and shrubs, a bunch of shrubs, 40 shrubs or so, and make sure that that's restored so that there isn't flooding and stuff that coming up from there. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can get that grant as well. And that would also support bringing back the goats so that they could take care of the invasives, which is a 2-for-1 as far as I'm concerned. It's a winner. So that's all exciting. And finally, just very quickly, I know Steve is here. Steve, do you have any public comment that you want to let people know about before we adjourn?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I would ask one thing. Would a field trip out to the recycling centers at Grays Ferry Avenue and Murph, maybe about 6 weeks from now, be something that people would be interested in?
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that, Stephen. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Although I'd want to wait until it was really safe to do that, but yes.
And I think, I think we should really think about that visit as well. I had mentioned before, one of my ideas was to maybe put together an educational video, something that would be appropriate and approved, scripted, where we could go down and, make it a 2-minute video that could go on to the township website and maybe even post it on social media, something that was clear and concise, scripted, approved, that we could share with residents. I think something like that makes a lot of impact. and is a real visual thing for people. So if we could maybe think about something like that, I think that would be really beneficial.
So I believe he said that, Wednesdays was a day that was the day they were handling
Yeah.
Darby's, yeah.
some of Upper Darby stuff.
Mhm.
So it would be, let's say 6 weeks from this Wednesday, give or take a week or two, people's schedules.
Well, I would prefer that we wait and see how COVID is playing out in the
Yeah, everybody have your stock
before-
cards with you, yeah.
Yeah, before we schedule something, but definitely it's something we should think about. And Kristen, maybe you can talk with your committee and see when most of them are available, so that you know, and plan when that's going to happen, and then we'll let other people know.
It may be a 2-trip process, maybe an educational trip, and then a second trip to do some sort of a video educational thing, you know, scripted. Hey, you know, we can make it fun, you know, something that the residents can pull up or even show to the schools. It just occurred to me, I work at Garriford. All of their recycling containers, which means there's a giant container in every classroom, and the kids are coming back next week, hopefully. All of the trash, all the recycling bins have plastic bags inside of them. So I've seen them kind of gathered up in the bags and then tossed. So it might be helpful to, you know, once we get underway, to send a letter to the superintendent, you know, letting them know. But I know it would be hard, because those bins would then probably get pretty dirty and would probably need to then be rinsed out. I know my recycling bin gets really filthy and needs to be hosed out on occasion. So I'm sure the trash bags are in there for a reason, but maybe to let the people cleaning the buildings know not to tie them, leave them untied. And I don't know. It just occurred to me that they're all in plastic bags.
Just dump the bags and separate, yeah.
And one other thing is, although glass has a negative value when it's in single stream, my guess is that it probably has some value when it's 100% glass. I don't know how we find that out, but that's my guess.
Yeah, there's actually, and I think Norm was looking at this, a group out in Pittsburgh, the PRC, the Pennsylvania Resource Council, and they would like actually to do a program for us around glass and the different ways that they've handled glass recycling and making a profit from actually glass, if you can find the right market, or not a profit, but, you know, not a detriment either to your recycling system. So at some point in time, you know, hopefully we can talk more about that and see, to take a closer look at the glass issue and what we might be able to do.
Bonnie, do you have a target for the Facebook page in terms of, you know, gaining access to that? Is that a process that is complicated, or is there any way that I can help you with that, or we can resolve that tonight?
Well,
not tonight. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so Bonnie was able to get an invite to me to become, I'm not an administrator. I'm either a moderator or a editor or something. And I had the chance to look at it. Bonnie, I don't know that we'll have to start over.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure from looking at it from the back end that, and maybe you and I'll set up a time where we can talk about what your concerns or what your thoughts are on what we have currently. But I have some pretty in-depth knowledge of the back-end admin side of Facebook pages. And from what I can tell, it doesn't look like there's anything too strange there that I wouldn't be able to walk you through changing the settings for and updating.
That's great. Okay, well then we'll talk. And if other people would like to be able to sort of like post things and stuff like that on it without having to go through us, we can talk about how we do that, because it's a lot of work to really maintain a good Facebook page. And it needs, if it's really going to work, it needs to be looked at continually and updated and made relevant. And so
and I think a subcommittee, an actual like social media subcommittee might, because I know Amanda, I know she's got a full plate over there with a couple young ones and all that. And
So say, can you hear them screaming?
No, but I know, I understand. And I think, maybe it could be almost like a rotation where, you take it this month, and rotate around. And I know with Facebook, you can actually kind of put things in the can to kind of appear, so you don't have to keep posting. And maybe we could put it on some kind of a schedule so that there's something regularly going out, to residents and things like that. So it,
Great
so
idea.
kind of show.
I have some ideas that I jotted down once I accepted the invite and sort of took a look at where we are as it stands and some ideas that came up just from my own experience managing our nonprofit I work for's Facebook page. So I've got some thoughts that I wrote down that I'll just sort of summarize and I'll share with the group, and we can use that as a jumping off point. I think that might be a good starting spot at least.
Okay, thank you. Sounds terrific. Well, thank you all for a really fabulous meeting. We learned so much. And Mayor, thank you again for all the stuff that you're, some of the EACs have to fight with their mayors and their commissioners and stuff to do the right thing around the environment. And we are lucky to have an advocate for the environment. So we feel very grateful that you're there doing that. I think this meeting, can we adjourn this meeting? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, have a